Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chtib Zhang Show, episode 48. In today's episode, Eric, change. One of the big words, the transition period, has finally come to Montreal. It's been a long time. You okay?
Bro,
Oh my God. Are you
I was
frozen?
looking at you. I was
What the
looking at
heck?
you.
Are you frozen or something? Anyway, wow. Yeah, there has been front office change in Montreal. They ransacked the whole front office basically, and they're gonna replace everyone, and we're gonna dive into it and give our thoughts, what we thought about it, and the decision. Uh, but as always, before that, we got to talk about our sponsor of the episode, Hot Streak Fantasy, the best in-play fantasy app on the market. Pick 2 to 3 players in the NBA and NFL. Watch them, your favorite teams, and watch them make you some money. Hot Streak is matching your initial deposit as a bonus when you use promo code Hot Sauce. So get Hot Streak Fantasy app now. Every week, accessible, easy. Gamble money if you're interested in sports gambling. Very quick, easy live bets. You just click, boom, that's simple. But yeah, Hot Streak Fantasy. Make sure to download it on the App Store. As always, before we jump into the video, roll it. Welcome back to the Chtib Zhang Show, episode 48. Nearly 50 to 2 off 50. Eric, in today's episode, very special episode, sort of a remembrance or the funeral of Marc Bergevin. Not that he passed away, but his tenure in Montreal is finally over with after almost a decade. Well, exactly 9 years. Marc Bergevin, alongside Trevor Timmins and Paul Wilson, have been sacked out of Montreal, fired. Notice I said that with Claude Julien the same exact way. It doesn't matter. I just got deja vu. Fired. No longer in need of his duties of the general manager. Scott Mellenby, assistant general manager, also recently resigned after he found out he was no longer in the running for the GM job. He was assistant since 2015. Bergevin's successor, he recommended him, and then Jeff Molson let him know that he wasn't in the running, and so he resigned 15 minutes into the Pittsburgh Penguins game, Eric. It was that time he found out, and he said, "Screw it, I'm done." Stupid organ. No, I'm joking, but I think he was expecting to get given the reins, so he was kind of probably not too happy with the decision. That's why he decided to leave, and so in replacement, already a name, already hired, a long-term deal, apparently, according to Jeff Molson. He had a press conference earlier. Was it Sunday, I believe? Sunday or Monday, about an hour long, talking about the decision making and how there needs to be a fresh start and someone new with a fresh vision to overlook the future for the Montreal Canadiens. Bergevin had 1 year left on his deal. There are already rumors of him coming or already leaving. So he left, and Jeff Gordon comes in to replace Marc Bergevin, a long-term deal. VP of Hockey Operations, obviously not named president, Eric, just strictly on the basis that he cannot speak French. And if you can't speak French in Montreal, they don't let you make the big decisions. But pretty sure it's a cover name, VP of Hockey Ops, cover name, most likely meaning president of Hockey Ops, and you'll have a GM, a French-speaking GM to work with. But we all know most likely Jeff Gordon will be calling the shots in Montreal. Eric, what do you know about Jeff Gordon, man? What do you know about the guy? You've heard that name before. I'm gonna talk about it.
Yes,
Don't
I know.
worry.
I know Jeff Green. I knew you were gonna throw me on the spot here,
Oh,
but
what do you know about? What do you remember last of Jeff Gordon? Rangers, the New York Rangers, Eric. No, doesn't class in it. No, it's because it's
I
not
haven't done my.
Stevie
You can't
Wires,
just.
man.
You
It's
should
not
have told
Steve.
me you're gonna throw me on the bus like that. Like I know
Well, I
Jeff.
didn't want to
Everyone knows
talk.
Jeff.
I
I
didn't
know
want to.
Jeff Gordon, of course, but like
Okay,
obviously,
it's fine.
like
You
but
don't know much of them. It's
like
okay,
I don't know.
Eric.
But like
As
I'm not
long
gonna
with
act
you
like I
and the
know.
fans, I will let you guys know. Don't worry. Just wanted to get you talking. because you're sitting there a little silent. I just don't want to take up all the talking points.
No, you go talk about Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon, Eric. Like I said, for the most fans, they probably know him from his time in New York. For more, longer NHL fans might know him from his time back in Boston, where he served as a scout in 1992. Finally worked his way up to assistant general manager, and then was actually named interim GM in 2006 after that. Then GM Mike O'Connell was fired. He became interim GM during the draft time too. The draft was coming up, so he had to take charge. Eric, let me name you some of the players he was able to snag in that 2006 draft. The haul he got, one of the best hauls ever in a draft, in the Boston Bruins draft. So it goes Phil Kessel, Milan Lucic, Brad Marchand. He then traded Andrew Raycroft for Tuukka Rask, signs Zdeno Chara and Mark Savard in free agency. So he kind of built some key pieces of the Bruins championship team in 2011. That team that was always successful, always making it to the postseason. He's kind of got some cornerstone players that were very fundamentally big, very involved with that team. So Jeff Gordon, some experience with the Boston Bruins. After that, went to go work with the New York Rangers, eventually became the general manager. And some of the moves he did there were getting Mika Zibanejad from the Ottawa Senators with his second round pick too for Derek Brassard. As you know, Eugene Melnyk, very cheap owner, didn't want to sign Zibanejad. They wanted to save some cash, so they traded him for Derek Brassard. Sorry. Got Adam Fox for a pair of second rounders from the Carolina Hurricanes, I believe. And then, the big Panarin signing. Yeah. Obviously, there's some moves. I'm not saying Jeff Gordon's perfect. There's some moves, some questionable moves he made, signing Jacob Trouba to that $8 million deal. The haul he got for Ryan McDonough, JT Miller wasn't that good, and other moves. But basically, the biggest thing is Jeff Gordon committed to a rebuild in New York. Yeah. Same time, Marc Bergevin committed to a reset, quote unquote, what he said in 2018. And so Jeff Gordon just had the cojones for a team like New York to claim there's a rebuild and, to stick with that and commit to that. And he was able to build a contending team now that we see the New York Rangers being so successful. But yeah, he will be in charge for the future of the Montreal Canadiens. Like I said, don't know what his contract is, but Jeff Molson let us know that he signed them long term. So he'll be with the team for the foreseeable future and past that. So Jeff Gordon, we still don't have a GM. We'll talk about that. But first, Eric, we gotta reminisce. Marc Bergevin, Trevor Timmins, Paul Wilson, whoever that is. Just kidding. I don't know who Paul Wilson is, but he is the Senior Vice President of Public Affairs and Communication. If you're asking why he was involved in getting fired, he was a PR disaster, as Jeff Molson likes to call it. He was in charge of that disaster for the Logan Mailloux draft. He was in charge of that. Didn't like how it got out, whatever, Jeff Molson. So he's just fired him alongside Marc Bergevin and Trevor Timmins. Marc Bergevin, 2012, 2013. He became GM of the Montreal Canadiens after being assistant GM in Chicago beforehand. It's been 9 years, Eric. Montreal has made the playoffs 6 times in his time around here. It was, I think, 4 in the first 5 years, and then Montreal obviously missed the playoffs, as we know, in 2018, 2017, and whatever when they missed.
Well, I was wondering, with the timing of this firing, do you think it has anything to do with his tenure in Chicago, or no?
No,
like,
no.
Purely on what he.
I would say this purely the fact that he had 1 year left on his deal. The team wasn't doing so great. Draft picks, I'm explaining. I'll get into that. Draft picks, first round lack of drafting, and yeah, you don't want to give power to a general manager who has 1 year left on his deal, and have to make decisions for the future when he might not even be around for the future. So that was a lot. That was kind of the biggest factor. And so I don't, he wasn't involved in the Chicago Kyle Beach situation. His name wasn't brought up. But Marc Bergevin, Eric, let's look at some of the biggest trades that he was involved with, or that he did for this team. Starting off with the biggest one, the most shocking one, that people know of course, is the PK Subban for Shea Weber in June 2016. Eric, we were actually together. We were kids, 2016, when
Yeah.
we first heard about this trade, summertime at the park
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Hearing of this, we were kind of freaking out. I think the whole hockey
Oh
world was
yeah.
freaking
Everyone
out.
was. Yeah.
Subban, definitely the team's biggest personality, their biggest known player. He kind of at that time in 2016, his relationship with the Montreal Canadiens, especially
With Pacharetti too. No,
oh,
no,
not
was it
well, the Patrick, sure, but with the coach Michel
Michel
Terrien, I was forgetting his name,
Terrain?
was getting a little sour. But people didn't think much of it. But then I think it was, I don't know if it was a day before, but anyway, before Subban's new contract that he signed, which was like 9.5, whatever, before that contract kicked in, the no trade clause kicked in, where Subban would have been able to get traded. Bergevin traded him before that kicked in, but traded him to Nashville Predators. Got Shea Weber, who was their next future captain, one of the most respected vets in the league. And there's no clear winner to this trade, not in my
Not really.
opinion. Obviously, it's worked out well for both teams.
Yeah.
Subban went to Nashville. They went to the Cup final in their first year, and then he got shipped away to New Jersey, whatever. But Shea Weber is stuck around here. Like I said, big leadership role
Yeah.
within the locker room, captain of the team. Brought this team to the Cup final, and then unfortunately, his career now is probably over with the foot injury, and stuff like that. So unfortunate for him. But I wouldn't say it was a clear-sided win. It's worked out for both teams. I liked Weber. I like Subban.
But it's a funny trade though, because if you when the trade happened, everyone's like, oh, obviously Weber, he's
The
older,
age,
so
yeah,
obviously Subban's gonna last longer, right? It's just gonna be like in long term, it's a better trade, right? But in the end, Weber probably lasted long. Well, he did last longer with the Montreal Canadiens than he did with Nashville, right? And then at the end, Subban was kind of like a cap dump at the end, right? They trade him away,
yeah.
just for cap space, right? So I don't know. The thing with Subban at the time, I think why everyone was so shocked about it was because Subban was by far the like not but like he was a superstar on the
Won
Montreal
the
Canadiens. He
Norris
won
2013.
the Norris. He was the face of the franchise, and obviously he had that $10 million donation.
To
Montreal, like
Children's.
the most, like basically everyone in the city loved him. Obviously, he had maybe some beef with Michel Terrain, but a couple of years there, tearing off fire too. So it's like, but I don't know, like it. I don't know if Montreal Canadian fans would want to do that trade again, but it definitely wasn't a loss for the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, I don't know. You'd
It's
be
like
surprised. You'd be surprised if people would do it again. We don't know how serious this toxic Subban, the image he gets, was
fair.
true in the locker room. We know he's had his problems with Max Pacioretty, and he got shipped away from Nashville. Apparently, there was some locker room issues. So we don't know the full extent to it. But Shea Weber really brought that presence, that leadership role. I think
Yeah,
that was good for the team that they needed at that time.
that's fair.
Um, Another trade, another big player name that Bergeron had no fear in trading away was Max Pacioretty,
Exactly.
the captain. As soon as Max Pacioretty became captain in Montreal, things went down south quickly. As we know, he didn't score in that first round series against the New York Rangers, which really made him look bad, and had people wanting him out of Montreal. Max Pacioretty for Nick Suzuki, Tatar, second round pick. Obviously, a trade again that's worked out for both teams, but I think Montreal in the end gets the win for this. Vegas trying to win a
Oh
cup,
yeah.
obviously, so they have their reasons, but Montreal gets their first line center, and they were still able to get a second round pick and Thomas Tatar,
Yeah.
who did great for the Montreal Canadiens as well. So another
Yeah.
big trade there for Mark Bergevin that he won. Another big move, Carey Price, obviously that big contract he signed, 8 years, 84 million, 10.5 AAV. Say what you want about this trade. I don't like to blame Bergevin for this contract, even though it's going to be hard to see teams give out double digits contracts to goaltenders and stuff like that. Oh, and we got another visit. As always, this is gonna not be cut. By the way, this is always gonna get cut. Oh, always gonna be
You
cut
gotta
there.
grab something.
As always pleasant. But yep. Bye, Shirley. That's not getting cut. by the way. Those always stay in. But Carey Price, say what you want. I don't think teams are gonna be giving out $10 million to goaltenders anymore. But the Canadians were kind of handcuffed at the time. You know, he just came off his Hart Trophy win. He won the Vezina, best player in the league at that time. So, you know, it's not the worst thing. You know, we went to the Stanley Cup finals. Carey Price carried us there. So, still one of the top tier goaltenders in the league. He is getting older. His contract has made our salary cap issue a bit trickier, but, you know, at the end of the day, what could you do? Another traded Miguel Sergachev after he traded him for Jonathan Drouin. This one was a bit of a head scratcher. Now clearly a loss for the Canadians, as
for sure.
at the time they needed a offensive puck moving defenseman, and they got that in Sergachev, and then yet they traded him away for Jonathan Drouin, who was, you know, excelling in Tampa, who was disappointed with the use of or the playing time he was getting. So he expressed he wasn't happy with that. They get swapped trades. Drouin hasn't really lived up to that expectation at all. And Sergachev has turned into quite a great player for the Tampa Bay Lightning, playing top 4 minutes. Going to surpass the contract he signed. Just a good player. So, yeah, you know, a trade that we probably lost in the end. So, one of Bergevin's trades that you probably want to take back. But a trade that absolutely fleece the Chicago Blackhawks, Dale Weiss and Thomas Fleischman trade at the trade deadline to a Chicago team looking to go for another cup run. They get Philip Deneau, Montreal's #1 center for the foreseeable future, shutdown center, and Alexander Romanov, which was the second round pick they got, turned into Romanov. Bergevin helped draft Philip Deneau in 2011 when he was assistant GM. Obviously knew about his caliber and his skill set, wanted him over in Montreal. And man, that trade was actually a great trade. It was an absolute steal for Marc Bergevin. The Canadians, Phil Deneau now obviously in Los Angeles. It was a pioneer for that cup run there, shutting down some of the big players on the other teams. 2015 traded a second round pick and a fifth round pick for Jeff Petrie, who was then with the Edmonton Oilers, picked him up. And, you know, Jeff Petrie has been a consistent 40-point defenseman ever since this season, where he's not projected to get that unless he really starts getting things going. But Jeff Petrie, an excellent defenseman in this league, very underrated, and just only for a second round pick and a fifth. Like, that's a great haul for a guy like him. And then another one of the big trades he's made was trading Galchenyuk, third overall pick, for Max Domi. Domi had 72 points in his first season. Galchenyuk kind of fell off the face of the earth in the league. And then Domi was traded then for Josh Anderson. So in the end, you trade Galchenyuk for Anderson. And it's always nice to have a guy like Josh Anderson on your team. And then finally, one of the biggest moves you can't forget, Paul Byron, one of the best waiver pickups in NHL history. Paul Byron, picked off by waivers from the Calgary Flames, a 2-time 20-goal scorer with the Montreal Canadiens. Can't say anything much about that when it was a waiver pickup. So obviously just all good news, or just good things for the Montreal Canadiens, what they did there. Marc Bergevin picking up Paul Byron, excellent pickup at the time. But yeah, those are some of Bergevin's biggest moves, Eric's. You know, trading, you know, at the start early on in his career, it was kind of shaky, some mediocre trades that turned into steals, absolute steals. But that wasn't the biggest thing. You know, yeah, obviously it has given us some of the assets that we have today that are helping this team win. But the biggest thing that has, you know, made Bergevin's tenure in Montreal as the GM looked bad was the drafting. They're drafting in first rounds, especially getting that first round talent. They haven't been able to draft any of the guys and keep them on the team. So the trade, and say what it is, what you want about it, good or bad. Mostly it's good. But it's the drafting that we're about to look at that has totally just, you know, some head scratchers with the Montreal Canadiens, something they've been lacking, first round picks. As we know, Marc Bergevin became GM 2013. His first player that he ever took as GM of the Canadiens was Michael Mccarron.
Yeah.
Big, was he like 6'5",
Yeah,
6'6", something like that. Center, who I guess, you know, at the time Montreal wanted to get bigger. And so they picked size over skill. And so they went after Michael Mccarron, who, you know, turned out to be a buzz and quickly moved on from the team, and then hasn't made his way in the NHL, really hasn't solidified himself anywhere. I think where's he playing now? I just on Boston, I think.
He
No.
he was on the Ice Caps for so long
Or no,
with
Nashville. I think he's with Nashville now.
yeah.
Michael, yeah, he was with Nashville now. And then the following year, they take Nikita Sherbak, who was a promising prospect at the time, but
Yeah.
didn't pan out to be
Nothing.
anything, and went back to playing in Europe.
Yeah.
2015, Noah Juleson, yeah, he could have been a
Ah,
promising prospect,
yeah.
but injuries caught up to him. He didn't really get the playing time, and when he had the chance, he impressed at times. He was inconsistent at times, but before he got injured in the eye, I remember when we went to see that game, the Washington Capitals, where he got
Yeah.
injured. He was playing pretty well for the Montreal Canadiens. I think
Yeah.
now he's with Florida. Wasn't able to crack he might have moved on from Florida because he wasn't able to crack the top six this season. Don't know where he is now. Might be in the AHL, not sure. 2016, they land Miguel Sergachev. Unfortunately, you trade that pick for Jonathan Drouin, so you don't keep that first round pick. 2017, Ryan Poehling, who was the only draft pick, him alongside Cole Caulfield and Gaden
Yeah.
Gooley, who has stuck with the team. And so Ryan Poehling, as we know, won MVP when he was with the World Juniors Team USA. Now playing well, sort of in Montreal, getting his chance right now with the team doing bad and trying to prove why he got picked in the first round. So time will have to wait with Ryan Poehling, as we know, developing the guy. He played his time in university, now with the AHL. So you expected him to crack the lineup beforehand, wasn't able to do it. So now it's just a waiting game with Ryan Poehling. But so far, I've been impressed with him. 2018 KK, as you know, that's a guy you leaped off the draft board to get. He was
Yeah.
expected to go in the top tens, whatever. You pick him third. Now he's no longer with the team. As we know, that whole situation. We recently talked about it with Carolina. But anyway, another narrative, another third overall pick that doesn't stick with the team or didn't pan out. So that's just troubling to hear and to see. 2019, Cole Caulfield, as we know, young star in the making,
Yeah. For
and
sure.
he's going to pan out because he has the natural talent. So that's a pick. Obviously, that was praised by Bergevin Timmins, and so was Caden Gooley in 2020, who is a fine young defenseman who's playing for Team Canada in the World Juniors and should be hopefully promising top four defenseman for the Canadians. So that was Bergevin's picking for the Montreal Canadiens, the ones he was in charge of. However, we're not only talking about Marc Bergevin here. We got to talk about Trevor Timmins, who has been with this team, Eric, since 2003. Okay, 2003 for a while. And he was a director of scouting personnel. And so he was in charge of some of these picks, Eric, and some of the reasons why it led to his firing. Because his inability to acquire that first round guy. 2003, Kostin. As we know, the guy, he had the blood disease, was supposed to be a high touted prospect, dropped to the Canadians. They took him because why not? Get take a guy who has a blood disease, and he was a good player for the time when he was healthy or whatever, but didn't really pan out in Montreal. 2004, Chtib Zhang, 482 games played in the NHL. Eric had 104 career points, 31 goals, 73 assists. So 2005, some guy named Carey Price. Not sure how that panned out. 2006, David Fisher. Eric, no NHL games under his belt, so first round bust. 2007, Ryan McDonough. You traded away for Scott Gomez. Very nice. Not his. Trevor Timmins was actually very against that move of
Yeah.
Ryan McDonough. He's actually willing to resign from the Montreal Canadiens if they trade Ryan McDonough. Obviously, talk to talk, didn't do it. 2008, didn't get a first round pick. 2009, you draft Louis LeBlanc. 2010, Jared Tenorti. 2011, Nathan Beaulieu. And then 2012, Alex Galchenyuk. So then just Louis LeBlanc, bust. Jared Tenorti, bust. Beaulieu really didn't do much with the Canadians.
Yeah.
And Alex Galchenyuk just wasn't the guy. Third overall, in 2012, third overall. He still should be playing with this team realistically. Most third overall picks from years past are still with the team. So just the first round picks with the scouting didn't pan out. He was okay with picking guys later, picking up some good NHL caliber guys later on, like Brendan Gallagher, right, and other guys amongst that. But besides that, the first round pick, the most important round of the draft, he just couldn't hit one. He just couldn't hit a gem. So that's ultimately what led to Trevor Timmins getting fired. And I'm for it. It's time to get a fresh look. They got to get a guy who has some drafting experience. They can't hire a guy with no experience. They got to get a guy who we're gonna, go over and talk about. But yeah, Trevor Timmins, Marc Bergevin. At the end of the day, you know, like I said, when you have the inability in drafting, it's going to screw you. It's going to screw your team. And so you got to move on and get a fresh look on things. And so, there's some question marks about who can replace the GM spot, even though we know it's going to be a Jeff Gordon front office. You still got to have a general manager. So there's a few names that have been mentioned around the news to replace. Mathieu Darche is one of them who has notably been working under Brisebois in Tampa. He's a salary cap nerd, apparently. He handles the budgeting, the negotiation of contracts, the scheduling. And like I said, he handles the salary cap, which was big for the Tampa Bay Lightning, handling that salary cap with Kucherov and everything, and how they were going to make it into the playoffs and make that work. Well, he was able to do that. Martin Madden Jr., who is assistant GM in Anaheim, apparently he's a good draft expert. Not in the first rounds, which is, troubling to think of. But he's exceptionally great outside of the first round, in the later rounds, the fourth or fifth round picks. Some notable picks in Tampa. He got Sammy Vatanen in the fourth, Josh Manson in the sixth, Andre Cauchet in the seventh. So yeah, talent outside of the first round pick he's known for. Not really. I want a guy who can get his first round picks down pat, but he's been a guy who's surfacing. Patrick Waugh, his name surfacing. The problem with Patrick Waugh is he was the coach in Colorado. He wanted to have control of everything over there. He wanted to be GM and everything. So I'm not sure how that relationship would work with Jeff Gordon, who he'd have to work under. And I don't know if that would work out. So not really a guy I'm looking.
Would Patrick Roy ever even come back to Montreal? I thought
I'm sure.
Montreal.
No, he was a bit sour with Montreal, but like nobody.
It didn't end on a good note though.
No, it didn't. But Mario Tremblay's not there. That GM's not there.
Yeah.
So no, but I'm sure he'd be interested in coming back to Montreal. He has an executive role right now with the Romparts and the QM JHL. So not a guy I personally want. I wouldn't want Patrick Waugh to be the general manager.
Yeah.
Not like another guy too, like Vincent D'Anfus. His name is being circulated. He has no prior NHL experience. Like, I don't want guys with zero experience. I'm tired of it. I don't care if he has analytics, and stuff like that, and he knows the market. I don't care. Like, he has no experience. Roberto Luongo, he is assistant general manager of Team Canada. And I think he did some front office work in Florida. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Florida. Florida.
Like maybe goalie coach or assistant general manager there. I'm not too sure. But and then Daniel Briere, who's president and governor of the ECHL Maine Mariners.
No way.
Apparently he's high on the list too.
Really?
But the two guys I would look at are Mathieu Darche and Martin Madden Jr. Because first of all, you need a French. You have to have a French speaking.
Have to, yes. Because
Jeff Molson wants one. We know the French media. If you don't get one, they're gonna tear you apart. Because like I said it on Twitter too. Like, I didn't know execs have to have weekly dictées.
Wait, you said on Twitter?
Yeah, I said I was like, oh, like the fact that Jeff Gordon is the named president of hockey operations is ridiculous. I didn't know executives had to have weekly dictées and stuff like that. Because basically his title is a cover name. We all know he's going to be making the big decisions, but we had to give him vice president. We couldn't give him president because he doesn't speak French, so we'll give him vice president. But we'll let you handle everything. Okay. But Mathieu Darche, I'd love a guy who can handle the cap. The cap situation is a bit troubling right now with price and everything. So I'd like a guy who can handle and see how he can work it out for this team to be successful, or get a draft expert, Martin Madden Jr. But mostly I'm trusting Jeff Gordon to overlook the drafting, overlook the trades and stuff like that. But Mathieu Darche handling, budgeting, what numbers in negotiation he thinks are right. Is someone I could be in. I wouldn't mind. Mathieu Darche right now is probably number one on my list. And then Martin Madden Jr. number two. Martin Madden Jr. That's it. I don't want to see Roy. I don't want to see Vincent D'Anfus. I don't want to see Daniel Briere. I need to see guys with experience under their belts, who have been working under other guys with experiences like Brisebois. Or Martin Madden Jr. has been in Anaheim for so long, for like 12 years, so he's been around and he's had the experience. I just don't do that to me, Jeff Molson. Do not hire some guy with no experience, please, for the love of God. But yeah, change, Eric. Change is on the horizon in Montreal. We'll have Jeff Gordon and all them handling the trade deadline, which is important because that's where your future will be decided, who you want to trade, and then the draft, of course. Jeff Gordon's great in the draft. He's picked some good players, as we saw in Boston. So he's got that first round, gems, and he's got a real grip on it. I hope to see that because that would be new to see in Montreal, some first round pick succession. That would be new, as we haven't seen that since recently with Caden Gould and Cole Caulfield. But since before that, no, not a real bona fide player who's been able to prove that they're first round star. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see for sure. Let's should we talk football now? Talk a little Bengals Steelers.
We're good.
What do you mean? You want to talk about the
Thank you
Bengals
for watching the Chtib
sweeping? No, whoa, sweeping the Pittsburgh Penguins, first time since 2009. Eric, sweep. You didn't know that? They can only face them twice. Sweep. Never. Not going to play
It's
again.
not a sweep. Yo,
it is a
games
sweep.
Is not a sweep.
Well, it's still 2-0. Still a sweep. Anyway, Mixon had a career game, Eric. 28 rushes, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins, 1 touchdown, 114 yards. Eric, when it's not Burrow and Jamar Chase, it's Mixon and T. Higgins, or it's T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. This team, once they establish the run, they could throw the ball anywhere. Once they run the ball down your throats, they can also air it out to anyone they like, any other receivers, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, whatever they want. Man, Ben Roethlisberger just looks old. He's done.
He is.
This is his last year, and then even with this draft with no real QB star, it's going to be tough sliding for the Steelers this near the end here and next year going into that season, because Ben's not going to be on the team. The guy looks old. You see the guy throwing the ball, he's throwing it behind players. Just his movement, Eric. He just looks like he's 50 years old in a football uniform. I mean, man, he's got to face the Ravens next week. The Ravens? You got to play the Ravens next week? There's no hope there. And then the Chargers versus Bengals. I expect the Bengals to win that one versus the Chargers. Chargers haven't really impressed this season out. They're having a disappointing season. I know they're 6-5, but that's a disappointing season in my eyes for the Chargers. A defensive-minded coach. I thought their defense would be good. It hasn't been great at all. It hasn't been able to stop the run. They've been giving up points, just so inconsistently. And so I expect Joe Mixon to have another big game here at home versus the Chargers, because they've had some trouble stopping the run. And I expect the Bengals to come out on top.
Because the
West
Chargers,
Coast team.
They started off good. The season they're good.
4-1, and then they lost 5 in a row or something. I don't know.
And then they just started fading out. But the thing is, Justin Herbert's still playing really well. He's still having in terms of the rookie from the 2020 class, he's still probably him and Joe Burrow are probably the best ones so far. Yeah. It's Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow right now. And Justin Herbert, I think he was who went before him? It was Tua. He's better than Tua for sure.
Did Tua go before him? Maybe.
Yeah.
Dolphins.
So yeah. But I remember when Justin Herbert got drafted, people were shocked because he wasn't expected to go. Who went second in that draft? It was Joe Burrow, and then I forget. But I remember Justin Herbert.
Was it a quarterback or was it a tackle? Was it a defensive tackle?
I don't remember. It's been a while. But more of a story, I don't know. Herbert, he's proving people wrong. I remember everyone was when they drafted him straight out of Oregon, everyone was oh, he's a bust. He's not.
Yeah.
He showed up. He's playing well. You can't blame him. He's bringing life to the Chargers for the first time. But yeah, you gotta give it to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a good team. They're, I don't know,
whatever. A great team.
They're winning games.
Chase Young, I knew it was a defensive tackle. Chase Young got taken second.
Yeah, it was Chase. Who were the QBs drafted? It was Joe Burrow, Tua. Jordan Love got drafted later.
Tua, Justin Herbert got 6.
Okay. And then Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
But yeah. No, I like the Bengals. The defense is showing up. Finally, the offense is showing up. Zach Taylor, that was the best game he's called all season, in my opinion. Just the whole team showed up, and so they're a real AFC contender in my mind. They can win this division. They could sneak away. At the beginning of the season, Eric, I had the Bengals maybe 3rd or 4th in the division. I remember I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I doubted this team. I didn't think, the defensive additions that they make were going to be real impacts in the AFC. But man, was I wrong. The Bengals are like Jamar Chase. What's that? That has added so much to the wide receiver core and the offense. The play calls, you're able to sling it down the field with a guy like that. And with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, I mean, you have so many weapons. He has a full plate, Joe Burrow, a full plate at his disposal. And yeah, I'm not saying they're going to go to the AFC title game or anything like that, but man, Bengals can, like I said, defense been inconsistent. They lost to the Jets. They got blown out by the Browns. So it's really about these second games. After blowing out a team, can they respond? Can they answer back? Not answer back, but can they answer the bell again? So we're going to see that with the Chargers if they can do that. West Coast team coming to the East Coast for another 1 p.m. game. Last time Chargers had to do that, they got blown out by the Ravens 34-6. Not saying anything, not assuming anything. Yeah. But Bengals face a bunch of West Coast teams now coming in into Cincinnati. So definitely the advantage for them there. So
because they definitely don't really have a weakness. If you look at obviously
I mean their O line, I guess you can
I was gonna say the O line, but it has been getting better.
And maybe their cornerbacks, they don't have the strongest cornerbacks in the leagues. Jesse Bates' safety is one of the best safeties in the league. Their defensive line ends, Trey Hendricks, Sam Hubbard have been great. Their tackles, Own Janab, my God, I'm always gonna mess up this guy's name. Oh my God. Anyway, I forget his name. The defensive tackles for the Bengals have stepped up too. They've been able to stop the run, even with NFL caliber elite running backs. They've been able to prove that they can stop them. So I expect that with Austin Eckler and the Chargers. That offense runs through Austin Eckler. So I expect the defense to show up and get to the game plan, stop the run early, try and get the turnovers and let the offense just do their thing right now. They're rolling, scored 30 points in the past 2 weeks. So they're heating up right now. Let them do their thing. Defense keep doing their thing. Bengals are playing really well right now. Really, really well. It's just great to be watching this. I didn't expect this. So really, with the Habs, at least the Bengals are there every Sunday. Unlike you with the Detroit Red Wings
I'm good.
and
I'm
Steelers.
Good. I have the Jazz. I'm good.
Oh, you have the Jazz. Oh, I'm good. You just give up on your two teams like that.
Oh, it's been like,
bro. I knew it. I called it. I told you Steelers are gonna be crap this year.
We're good. We're still making the playoffs.
You're not making the playoffs. You ain't making the playoffs. That team's not making it. You expect Ben Roethlisberger to carry this team to the playoffs? You're out of your mind.
We're 5-5-1.
Yeah, but I don't care. Look at the AFC, man. Look what you have to compete against. I don't care what you're 5-5-5. Look at the damn wild card.
No, we're good. We're good.
Look at your Steelers. They're fourth outside of the playoffs right now. You got the Raiders ahead of you. Well, yeah, you got the Broncos, you got the Colts, and you got the Raiders in front of you. Not saying those teams aren't good either, but and then you got the Browns you're still fighting against.
Browns are not making playoffs. Guaranteed. Okay, maybe.
Guaranteed? I don't know. It's going to be tough because the AFC, it's still Baltimore's winning that division. They're 8-3. They're a good team. Cincy 7-4. Pittsburgh 5-5. Cleveland Browns 6-6. So, they got Bengals got a game on the Browns, and they're 2 games ahead right now of the Steelers. So sitting pretty, looking good. Hopefully they can catch up to Baltimore. They can win this division. They can do it. So I expect a win though next week. Here we go. Knock on wood. Yeah. Bengals. That's my bet. Bengals money line. Boom. Over under 50 points. No.
Yeah.
Under 50 points. Yeah.
Okay. 20.
Bengals under 50 points. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, that has been another episode of the Chtib Zhang show. Saying farewell to a beloved or hated Marc Bergevin, however you want to say it.
I hate it. We've talked a lot about Marc.
Listen, I had a back and forth relationship with Marc Bergevin. Love, hate. I was always, on the bandwagon firing. And sometimes I was like, he's doing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
Let's keep him. He's made some moves. But in the end, it's always the drafting that caught up to them. And that inability cost them their jobs, unfortunately.
How many times did I ask you? I was like, should we start blaming Marc Bergevin? You're like,
for what? When have you ever asked me that?
So look,
when have you ever asked me that?
So multiple times.
We only started this show. We started this show in 2020. with the Canadians in that bubble. And the
Like
Canadians in the bubble.
borderline, like
Oh
early
no, that was
2020.
it. Yeah, and that was
Oh
during
no,
that
late
season.
2020.
During that
Yeah,
season,
yeah,
it
yeah.
started during that season. That season, he had one of his best seasons as general manager. He traded for Jake Allen, signed Edmondson, traded for Josh Anderson, signed Toffoli. That was a great. I gave him his credit. What are you talking about? You're putting words in my mouth. Honestly,
No,
putting
no, no.
words. He had a great season. The reason they made it to the Cup final is because a lot of the moves he did that offseason. He got second for GM of the year. He lost to Lou Lamoriello. So yeah, he had a great season. I'm not going to blame him for the Cup run, but yeah, you can blame him for how the team is now. He received the team in 2012 and it was in shambles. Like you should see some of the players that were on that team. Plekanec, Eller was on that.
Whoa.
No,
Can't
but I
say
mean,
the
no, no,
team's
no,
in
no. But I mean,
shambles and say
I'm not saying the team
Plekanec.
was shambles. I'm saying the team was much different. You have to look at that team. I forget what it is, but you got to look at the team he inherited and what it's become. And now you got to look at what Jeff Gordon's going to inherit and what he has a lot more pieces and assets than Bergevin had when
Exactly,
he
yeah.
got the team in 2012. He didn't have that many high scouted. I think the best prospect was Nathan Beaulieu at the time, that they got in 2011. So now you have Suzuki, you have Kokofi, you have Kane Glue. You got assets. Jeff Gordon's got assets to build this team.
But do you think Jeff Gordon gonna like go full on rebuild or like kind of like how he did with the Rangers kind of
I don't
thing?
know, because
where,
I
like,
think that's what I'm expecting. Like if they hired him, it's because he knows his stuff, but he's also a guy who's been there before in the rebuild with
Yeah,
the Rangers,
the
and he
Rangers.
knows how to do it, and he's seen it before. So
Yeah.
maybe we could see we could see the Montreal Canadiens headed towards a rebuild. Who knows what he's able to if he just starts unloading contracts like Toffoli and Hoffman. I don't know how serious it's going to get. Time will tell. It's still early. And so that's it. Jeff Gordon, yeah, like I said, he's going to get a much better team right now than Bergevin got. And, I'm happy where the team is right now. Just not happy with the first round picks. That's the only thing. The trades, I could overlook some of the trades tonight. Sergachev and Drew. I can overlook that because, he got me, Philip Deneau and Romanov for freaking nothing, for pennies. And so it's stuff like that. It's the drafting that he screwed up on. Not his strongest forte, and contracts. He wasn't very good at that. Carl Alsner, price he's handed out, some overpayment. We'll see with Josh Anderson. I always love Josh Anderson. I always like that player. It's always a guy I want on my team. We'll see how that contract works out. But yeah, that was the things. His contracts wasn't as good. His drafting, his trades, pretty good. And he made some ballsy moves that I don't think any GM would have. So love-hate relationship with Marc Bergevin. Trevor Timmons, it's time. That was time. That was long overdue. Paul Wilson, sorry, man. Just got caught up in the mix. Collateral damage. But yeah, there's been another episode of the Chtib Zhang Show. Thank you for watching us on YouTube or listening to Spotify. And yeah, we'll see you guys in episode 49. Peace. Roll the outro.